Esports Tiger has a wide range of mousepads, and to me, their main selling point has always been the artwork. In this video, we are checking out the Esports Tiger EBA. A lot of people have requested me to review this mousepad. And on top of that, we are gonna check out the GrandMaster series. If you're like me who doesn't care about artwork that much, previously Esports Tiger most likely wasn't the brand for you. The Esports Tiger EBA might actually change that though. But let's go check these mousepads out. One of the main selling points for these Esports Tiger pads has always been the designs. And the same somewhat applies here, as the EBA, for example, is very well designed and it looks great. But the GrandMaster designs do not look that great in my opinion. There are some similarities with all of these pads. For example, they are all 480 x 400mm in size, and they are also 4mm thick. The EBA and the GrandMaster have a rubber base, and the GrandMaster Special Editions have an SR base. The rubber base stays flat right out of the box, and it sticks to my desk very well. Whereas the SR base has some issues laying flat, and it also moves quite a bit on my desk. And it even moves while I game, so this is very much a real issue. In regards of softness, the SR base does seem to be quite a bit softer than the rubber base. Looking at the pricing, the special edition GrandMaster pads are $40 and the standard one is $30. To me, this doesn't make much sense as the implementation of the rubber base is much better. The pricing for the EBA is $35. The stitching on the GrandMaster special editions is great as it's pretty much flush with the surface. There is also no fraying whatsoever, and I don't think that there is any way that somebody would find this abrasive. Then again, the stitching on the EBA and the standard GrandMaster do not have the best stitching. I've used the EBA for about 3 weeks and there is a lot of fraying on the stitching. The stitching is also raised, and although I didn't care about it, I definitely can see some people finding it abrasive. By the way guys, thank you all for the insane support this past month, but if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Moving on to surfaces, and let's start with the GrandMaster. The marketing basically states that it has a nylon surface with 3-dimensional weave and that it provides firm control with extremely low friction. In reality, it does provide quite friction-free glide, but there is pretty much no control as well. To me, this is just not good as the mousepad is also completely smooth. That usually means that there is no feedback from the surface being rough, for example, and that often means for me that it's harder for me to perform or aim. One thing that I do like about these GrandMaster pads is that they are very consistent and sweaty hands do not seem to affect glide at all with these. Moving on to the surface of the EBA, and in my opinion this is far more interesting pad than the GrandMasters are. The surface is very rough, but it's not abrasive, and it gives a good amount of speed and a good amount of control. But unlike the GrandMaster series, the EBA is actually pretty reliant on mouse feed. With large PTFE feet, the glide is good and there is a good amount of control. But for example, the Xtrfy MC1 or the Rocket Shop Ninja mouse does struggle with this surface as it has quite small feet and there are 3 of them. The experience is just way too rough with the MC1, and the same applies to the G305 as it has these 4 small feet and the feet are not even PTFE. But if you're using large feet, the properties that the EBA offers are much better than the GrandMaster. There is definitely more static and dynamic friction on the EBA, but it's still somewhat fast. And for a control pad, the static friction is actually somewhat low. This makes the EBA a great all-around pad in terms of tracking and flick shots. I played a lot of CSGO, Call of Duty and Quake with the EBA, and I did enjoy myself quite a bit. But for a reviewer like myself, the EBA is not a top tier option. The fact that it doesn't work very well with small feet is a real issue for a guy like myself who plays with many different mice. That being said, having mainly played with the Superlight and the XM1 for the past week, the EBA works very well with both of those mice. So if you're somebody that's using the XM1R for example and you prefer control pads, the EBA is definitely something you might want to try. Compared to pretty much any other standard cloth pad, the EBA is just much faster, but it does provide that feedback with the rough surface. This feedback helps a lot with flick shots, and the fact that if you have a mouse with large mouse feet, you also have low amount of friction, which usually can help with tracking. The EBA is quite a unique pad in today's standards, but then again so is the GrandMaster, but I just do not see a reason to recommend that to pretty much anybody. Esports Tiger has a lot of different surfaces, but I have to say that the EBA is probably their best mousepad. I think it's their only surface that does not have a higher quality competitor. At the end of the day, it's of course down to you if you want to try the EBA or not, but it definitely won't be the bottleneck in your in-game performance. If you are bored of these standard cloth pads and you want to try something new that's a little bit faster but still offers good control, you might want to check the EBA out. All in all, it's a good mousepad, but it's quite mouse feed dependent. The GrandMaster, then again, I wouldn't really recommend to anybody. I myself honestly think that smoothness without any kind of feedback or friction is a really bad setup for competitive gaming. By the way, thank you Addis and Esports Tiger for sending these pads out for review. That's it for this one. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you enjoy my content, hit that subscribe button and see you in the next one.